Okay, hello. So today I am starting the new series of episodes, and there will be probably 3 or 6 because each part will be consisting of 6 or 4 um, sub subjects, subjects, subparts. So the first part is today, and so I will be reading everything from it's written in the book, but I will be doing the short summaries of this. So let's start with the part 1, and this one is Fall of Civilizations from the book of the Paul Cooper Stories of Greatness and Decline. And today there will be the Middle Age, and there are 4 subsubjects, so there will be about 1 hour or so of talk. Right. Okay. So the Middle Age. In the lives of emperors, there is a moment which follows pride in the boundaries extension of the territories we had conquered, and the melancholy and the relief of knowing we shall soon give up, and thought of knowing and understanding them. There is a sense of emptiness that comes over at us at evening, with the odor of the elephants after the rain, and the sandalwood ashes growing cold in the braziers. It is a desperate moment when we discover that this empire, which had seemed to us the sum of all wonders, is an endless, formless ruin that we triumph over enemy sovereigns has made us the heirs of their long undoing. And it was said by Italo Calvino, Invisible Cities. And it was translated by William Weaver. Okay, so in 1695, a Spanish monk named Andres de Avendano Loyola and his men were fleeing barefoot and starving through the tropical forests of Central America. Avendano had been part of a mission to convert the people of Tayasal, the last island stronghold of an once mighty indigenous empire, the Piton Itza kingdom. He had hoped to convince the king of Tayasal to convert to Christianity and accept Spanish control, but Avendano had failed. The people of Tayanas had turned against the missionaries, and now he and his men were fleeing back to Spanish-controlled territory in fear for their lives. It was hard going through a hostile landscape river with steep ravines over rivers and densely forested hills, but then they came across something that stopped them in their tracks, an enormous pyramid of stone jutting out of the jungle canopy, tangled with roots and vines. And it said that among these high hills which we passed over, there is a variety of old buildings, and though they were very high and my strength was little, I climbed up them. With trouble. They were in the form of a convent with the small cloisters and many living rooms, all roofed over. It seemed to us that the building stood near a settlement, but it turned out to be the dream of a blind man, since we found ourselves, as we saw afterwards, very far from a settlement. Avendano had observed Mayan people living in cities of the north coast of Yucatan, but when he encountered here was something different. That these were the ruins of a city larger than any we had seen in the New World, a city that rivaled the ancient capitals of the Old World in size, magnificence, and grandeur. This was the great Mayan capital of Tikal. For 7 centuries, this city has ruled as sprawling empire, conquered its enemies, written literature, and raised monuments. And Tikal was just one of at least 40 Mayan cities that had flourished in this region. but after that, archaeology tells a break story. In the mid-10th century, more than 500 been any Europeans first set foot on the American continent. The complex web of Mayan civilization has come apart. The city of Tikal was abandoned along with every single city in the Mayan lowland. After this collapse, the forest swept in to reclaim them, and the imposing pyramids were left to crumble into the earth. Millions of people disappeared from the region, and the story of exactly how this happened remains one of history's great unanswered questions. And then we got here saying by one Spanish writer who called Herrera wrote an account of a sport that he witnessed in central Mexico. The king took much delight in seeing sport, a bull which the Spartans have since prohibited because of the mischief that often happened at it. The bull has made of the gum of a tree that grows in hot countries. The bull may therefore, though hard and heavy to the hand, did bound and fly as well as our footballs. The Yucatan Peninsula is a shelf of cast limestone, soft and porous as a sponge. Over millions of years, rainwater has bored deep channels into this rock and filled it with holes like Swiss cheese. There are barely any rivers here, since any rain that falls is immediately drained away into a twisted warren of underground sinkholes called cetones. What's more, the Yucatan is a seasonal desert. Rain is this part of the world happens all at once and then not at all. With 90% of rainfall occurring in the summer months, the dropping off culminating in a 4-month annual drought from January to May. For this reason, the Maya were constantly battling to preserve rainwater. To this end, they dug large tanks and plastered their bottoms to make them watertight. To carry out all the physical labor, the Maya couldn't rely on animal help. In Afro Eurasia, the domestication of beasts of burden like the horse, ox, camel, and elephant helped multiply the labor potential of human workers. Even in the Andes, the Inca were able to use llamas to carry heavy weights across long distance, but in the Mayan lowlands, the only large animal was the reclusive tapir, which they sometimes hunted for food, and all transformation was done on human backs, using the simple technology of a strap tied around the forehead. Another challenge was the inefficiency of Mayan farming. Mayan staples like maize were very low in protein, and the harsh and humid environment meant that agriculture and food storage were a constant battle against the forces of tropical nature. The soil in Yucatan is very thin, sometimes only a few centimeters deep before you reach the caustic stone beneath, and it's easily washed away. For this reason, the early Maya relied on slash and burn techniques, hacking the forest away in patches and burning it in order to grow a few rounds of crops in the nutrient-rich layers of ash before letting the George plants rush back into reclaiming the land. But soon they would have to develop new and ingenious methods of farming to feed the growing population. For most of their history, the Maya were essentially a Stone Age society. Copper working began in Mexico in the 7th century, long before contact with Europeans, but took several centuries to work its way down to the Mayan lowlands. The Maya never worked iron or mixed copper with tin to make bronze. To cut and carve, they used blades made of the black volcanic glass obsidian and hammers made of stone. Every one of their pyramids and temples was not only constructed without packed animals but also orientated and antiquely carved without metal tools. But despite these challenges, the Maya flourished, one of the only societies of comparative complexity ever to arise in such unfavorable conditions. The Mayan world was essentially divided into two zones: the highlands in the southwest and the lowlands in the northeast. The highlands are a spine of rocky mountains rising to 1,000 meters in the places covered with pine forests that follow the line of the continental shelf. In those cool hills, the Mayan found obsidian and jade, which they carved into tools and marvelous trinkets. And the highlands were also home to the quetzal, a bird with bright green feathers that they used to create the headdresses of their kings and priests. These high-value commodities led to Mayan to build a number of trading posts in these hills, but there were few significant settlements in the highlands. Looking down from one of those peaks, with your back to the Pacific Ocean, you would see ahead of you an undulating plain that stretched out towards the curve of the Atlantic coast, broken by bays and lagoons. The largest and most powerful city throughout much of the Classic period was Tikal. It's believed that Tikal have housed as many as 90,000 people at its height, and the tallest of its limestone temples towered to a height of 64 meters, or more than 20 stories. They were once ornaments with enormous masks of the jaguar, sun god, plastered and painted a deep red using paint made of the blood red mineral or cinnabar that they collected from volcanic sources in the highlands. Tikal rose to such heights in the Mayan world through a fruitful partnership that it cultivated with a shadowy forest to the north, a powerful society in central Mexico that exerted influence over much of what occurred in Yucatan. Archaeology shows that Tikal came under the influence of Teotihuacan in the 4th century. It's not clear whether this was a conquest, a diplomatic arrangement, or palace coup, but we know that a young ruler, Yaxnun Ahin, known as Carl Nose, rose to power in Tikal with the help of this distant superpower. In his time, artifacts have been found carved from telltale green obsidian that everywhere reveal the influence of Teotihuacan. His son named Siam Chan Kawin, or Storm Sky, would also inherit the throne with the support of Teotihuacan. One carving at Tikal known as Steel 31 shows this Mayan king being crowned, while Mexican soldiers carrying their distinctive dog throwers look on. Under the influence of Teotihuacan, Tikal grew in wealth and power, while the Western Roman Empire collapsed on the other side of the Atlantic. Tikal expanded until it was the most powerful city in the Mayan world. Its blood red temples as an unmistakable symbol of authority, and at its height it ruled over an empire of at least 500,000 people. We can tell that this was the case due to the inscriptions that the Maya left in stone, virtually unique among the people of all America. The Maya were a literal culture. They had a rich and complex system of phonetic hieroglyphs similar to those used in Egypt, made up to of animal faces and human figures, and wrote on books made of bark, paper, or the skin using reed pens and conch shells as inkwells. They also paint writing onto poetry on carved bone and shell, and on the plastic walls, as well as chipping lengthy inscriptions into the stones on the temples, ball court and palaces. And that would be a break here for maybe 2 minutes, and 2 seconds to 20 seconds, and I'll be right back. Patunia mamusi, how do I pause this one?